I lost my uncle, Senator J.K. Brambaifa. Even saying that aloud still feels strange. Most people, when they hear my son in Brambaifa, usually ask a simple question. Is Senator J.K. Brambaifa your father? I always smile when they ask, and I say yes. Not because he is my biological father, but because he was my father in every way that mattered. He was my late father's elder brother, and he was the eldest in the family. And in African families, the eldest doesn't just lead, they father everyone in the family. That was who he was to us. My first real memory of my uncle, Senator J.K. Brambaifa, goes back to when I was a child. Maybe around 8 years or 9 years old. My dad was a lieutenant in the Nigerian Army then, and he was based in Abuja. He was posted to Bauchi, and my mom and I were living in Festac Town in Lagos with our relatives back then, and it was during the holiday period, and I had to travel with my dad to his base in Bauchi. That journey still sits faintly in my head. From Lagos, we first went to Port Harcourt. We spent the night in my uncle's house, that's Senator JK, and then the three of us the next day traveled to Bauchi by road. My dad and my uncle sat in front, and I was seated behind. I don't remember every detail, but I remember the feeling. They stopped sometimes, buy things. Me in back seat, I was just eating. I mean, like the sense of safety, the sense that I was surrounded by men who carried responsibility. That memory stayed with me for as long as I can remember. As I grew older, I began to understand who my uncle was beyond family. I watched him move through life. I watched him contest for the series. I watched him fight that same seat with Heineken Lopobre, who is the current Minister for Petroleum, and eventually won and was sworn in as Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. At that time, I was still in the University of Port Harcourt. I designed some of the campaign posters for him. I was that involved. Back then, I was a student at the University of Port Harcourt, like I said, studying theater arts. I was young, observing, learning. When he was eventually sworn in as senator, I remember taking nice buses, those long, luxurious buses, Chisco Motors at Ikoku from Port Harcourt to visiting in Abuja. Those trips shaped me more than I realized at that time. I saw power up close. I mean, the seat of power, Senator of the Federal Republic. I saw a man carry power. I remember one particular trip we took together in one of those my trips to Abuja. I joined into a PDP conference in Asaba Delta State. That was a trip where A.K. Dikibo was assassinated. One Dikibo at that time, he was assassinated and the conference was cancelled. The bond I had with him at that time was very, very strong. And while we even drove back, the connection was strong. And my uncle was all about how he engaged people. He was alert. He was deeply interested in ideas, in people, in conversations. He loved smart people around him. And I think somehow that's why he liked me. I was smart. I engaged in discussions. I realized later in life that I spoke more easily with him than I did with my own father. With him, I could gist, I could talk freely, open up, and sometimes he laughed and responded like a friend. Other times, he was very strict. I mean, very, very strict. And that balance taught me something important about leadership. There was an incident that tested our relationship deeply. And one of those my visits to Abuja, the daily boss of NDDC, Timi Alaibe, came visiting him, and my uncle was the chairman of the Senate Committee on Niger Delta Affairs, I think, at that time. He introduced me proudly to Timi Alaibe and said, Timi na Captain son, Judiso, Captain first son. Timi Alaibe was impressed when he saw me, registered, and he gave me money, my cousins and I, 50K at that time. And then he handed a brown envelope to my uncle, who in turn handed it over to me. Later, my uncle said I should go keep the envelope in his room. I had access to his room, to his drawer. I took the keys and kept the envelope inside of it. It was a lot of money, 500K. 500K, yes. 250, 2 bundles. The next day I was going to Port Harcourt, so I traveled through the 9 bus. He normally gave me money for the semester. I was, something to guide it. And while I was there in Port Harcourt, days later, my dad called me and said, my uncle accused me of taking money from that same envelope. I was shocked. I told my dad the truth. I told him I couldn't have done that. How does someone give you money to keep and you steal from me? And my dad was like, I never trained you like this, so I don't understand. Well, my dad eventually told me to go meet my uncle, who was in Port Harcourt at the time, to explain myself. He was staying at Le Meridian Hotel at GRE, Moffever Road, close to our house right then. And when I went to see him, he refused to see me. And that hurt me so deep. Eventually, the real culprit was found and I was cleared. And my dad was happy, at least. I know I didn't raise you to be like this. But what stayed with me wasn't the accusation. It was what happened afterwards. At one of my uncle's celebration, Uncle Nelson Brambaifa, who was celebrating becoming a professor. So I was still in Uniport then, me and my friends from the CRAP at Delta Park. We had to go to Abuja campus, Gambia, where my uncle was staying for the celebration. So when I got there, I saw my dad and he was like, have you seen your uncle? He has been asking after you. So I looked around and I finally saw Senator J.K. Brambaifa, and he did something that changed our relationship forever. He called me by my name and he said something I will never forget. He said, it is difficult for a father to apologize to a son, but this is me apologizing to you for accusing you wrongly. I am sorry. That moment broke something open inside of me. Here is a man of power, a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, an elder choosing humility. He didn't stop there. He went on to ask if my school fees and rent are been sorted out for the academic session. Of course, now as a student then, will you even say as if you were in that shoes? Or if you were in my shoes rather. I told him no. He asked me to meet his PA and he eventually paid for everything for my academic year. From that day, we became very close. So you can imagine how I am feeling over the loss of my uncle, my father, my daddy. As a family, he always checked on us, he advised us, he admonished us when necessary. He was one of the few who intervened in family matters, the one who calmed storms, the one who opened doors quietly with just a note to some offices. Later in life, he wrote his biography and he did the launching, Odyssey of a Statesman. And he took it to our community, to secondary school students. And I watched him share his story, how he grew from nothing, his trip to London, how he struggled in London, he's coming back to Nigeria, struggling to get a job. Eventually started teaching in the University of Science and Technology in Port Harcourt, and now he joined politics. Politically, he was growing and became the chairman of Saibaman local government area in the Old River State. He eventually became the senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I was his media aide then, and I captured that moment. And I felt proud because this was a man using his story to positively inspire younger ones. And his story is quite inspiring, and I learned a lot from him. And I was glad he was passing it on to the younger generation. Until his passing, he served as a pro-chancellor and a chairman of the governing council of the Federal University of Agriculture, Basambri. I also worked with him as his media aide, and even then he kept saying something to the family and to me also that our time is almost over. We are taking the back seat now. You, our children, must handle the affairs of the family, which was something we were doing. At the point in time, I was the secretary of the Brambaifa family in Bayelsa State, and he was always encouraging us to lead. And that I was eventually doing. He was positioning us, preparing us as a family, and that is why his passing cut so deep. It cut me so deep because he was still guiding me. He was still opening paths for me, still pushing me towards places where my service will matter, especially with the Federal University of Agriculture. I learned so much from him: resilience, consistency, intelligence, which was one thing he loved. If you're intelligent and smart, he likes you a lot. Humility, empathy, all this I learned from him. It taught me that power without humanity is empty. And today, we have lost a gem. Not just the Brambaifa family, the entire Agderi town, my community, the entire Bayelsa State and Nigeria as a nation has lost a journey. But more than that, I have lost a father. Yes, I lost my biological father in 2006, and 20 years later, I have lost my other dad, Senator J.K. Brambaifa. I honor his life, I honor his legacy, and I pray that when my time comes, someone will say that I too live in a way that made room for others to rise. I'm getting really emotional now, and I just have to end this video.